In chapter 10.3, we're going to solve problems involving inequalities. So this is nice. We just learned this mathematical component. Now let's apply it to word problems. So the sum of two consecutive integers is less than 80. Find the pair of such integers with the greatest sum. Ooh. All right, so there's multi-parts to understanding this problem. It's not about just solving. It is finding the solution and then interpreting it and then applying it. Okay, if what is the greatest sum? So what is the largest whole number? That is less than 39.5, which is 39, and then consecutive would be 40. So 30 plus 40 is the largest two consecutive integers whose sum is less than 80. So lots of pieces to comprehend. So for each of the following, choose a variable to represent the number in boldface type, Lena's age, and then use the variable to write an inequality based on the given information. So we'll call Lena's age L. So Harry, who is not yet 16 years old, is 3 years younger than Lena. So Lena, Harry, who is not 16, so is 3 years younger than Lena. So if you take Lena's age and you subtract 3, that is going to be not yet. So it will be less than 16. Okay, and there we go. We'll just say L equals Lena. L equals Lena's age. So this Harry, who is not yet 16 years old, so this is Harry's age, is less than 16, he's not yet, is 3 years younger than Lena. So if Lena is L years old, then if we subtract 3, we would get his age under these stipulations, that it's less than 16. It can't be equal to, because then you would be 16. So that's why we didn't include the equal sign there. And then we're good. Total number of miles Barry will drive. So we'll say T. T represents total number Barry will drive. Barry drives. We may change it. After driving 125 miles, Barry still has more than 75 miles to travel. Total number of miles Barry will drive. So that's important. So after driving, so he's driven 125. Barry still has more than 75 miles to drive. So, will drive. I mean, so still has 75 more to drive. So that's after driving. Got it. So this is a little challenging. So if T is the total amount of miles Barry will drive, if we subtract the 125 that he's already, Barry still has more than 75 miles to drive. So this has to be more than 75. So this is how much he's going to drive. He's already driven this, which we'll subtract, and that remainder needs to be more than 75. It's an interesting way. These are challenging. This is not easy, but we can do it. You got to think it out. Well, I guess we're not going to do it anymore. Translate each phrase into mathematicals. The age of the house is at least 75, so it can be 75 or more. The distance is no less than, so it can't be less than. It can be equal to this, but it can't be less than, so it must be greater than. The price, that no less than is tricky. The price of the tickets is at most, that means it can be 190, but no more than that. Her driving time at school is no more than 30 minutes, so we can also do equals. So those are all equals. So choose a variable to represent the number in boldface, so the amount of deposit. Use the variable to write an inequality based on the given. Do not solve. Katrina's balance in her checking account is 160. She must deposit at least enough money, so 160 plus her deposit. So we'll do D. D is equal to amount deposited. Hold on. Okay. Yeah, give me 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, if okay. Or I can stop. Sorry, lots of interruptions. So Katrina's balance in her checking account is 160. That's her balance, plus the amount she's going to deposit. She must deposit at least enough money in her account to be able to pay her car payment of 290. So that total must be greater than or equal to 295, right? So that's how much will be in her account. This is her account total, is her balance plus her deposit, and that must be at least 295. So it can be more, can't be less, because if it's less, then she can't make the deposit. So that's going to be that problem. Dan bicycled, and notice, choose a variable, use a variable. I see the number of kilometers Manuel bicycled. I should probably read it and just be able to interpret what's going on. Dan bicycled 12 more kilometers and 1/3 the number of kilometers Manuel bicycled. Dan bicycled at most 24. So no more than 24. So it's less than that. So Dan bicycled 12 kilometers more than 1/3 Manuel. So we'll say M equals Manny's bicycle, B-I-C-Y. Manny's bicycled. So we'll say M, and now Dan bicycled 12 more than 1/3. So we got to multiply Manny's by 1/3 and then add 12. This is going to represent Dan's distance. So Dan distance at most, so this can be at most, no, notice that said Dan's is greater than, so that does not say at most. No more than 24. So this can be equal, but it can't be more, at most. So this value cannot be greater than 24. It has to be less than. So that's the proper notation there. The length of a rectangle is 7 centimeters longer than its width. The perimeter is no more than 38 centimeters. So W equals the width. That's pretty easy. The length of a rectangle, so we know the length is 7 centimeters longer than the width. But the perimeter, so we need to know that, let's think about this formula. The perimeter at most is 38, is no more than 38. It can be equal to 38, but it can't be greater than, so it has to be less than. And perimeter is 2 times length times width. So we can put that in there, and then we know that the length is 7 longer than the width. So instead of having L, we're going to have width plus 7, which represents the length, plus 2W is less than or equal to 38. Notice we don't have to solve, but that's the proper, because the length is the width plus 7, adding 7 longer than the width. So little things, we can make a general, then we can get more specific, and then we can start substituting. So that's a nice migration to the answer. So the sum of 2 consecutive odd integers is at most 85, the greater integer. So that's very, very tricky. So typically we go x and x plus 2. So, but this means x is the smaller and x plus 2 is the larger, But that's not a variable. That's a variable plus a number. So that is really not the best way to do it. If you want to represent x being the larger, then the smaller is going to be x minus 2 if we were going to be consecutive odd. So odd numbers are 2 away from each other. So if I had 7 and I wanted the one prior to it, I would subtract 2. So the sum of two consecutive odd integers, the sum of that, this being the larger, this being the smaller, is at most, so no more than 185. That's the proper way, where x is the greater integer. So a lot of students would have written it this way, and they would have looked at x, the variable, but unfortunately x represents the smaller, not the greater. So that's a little tricky question right there. A lot of students would get that problem wrong. The product of two consecutive integers is no less than 75, the smaller, so we can just say x is the smaller. Consecutive integers are x plus 1, that's 1 away, is the next, not the larger, is 1, and this is the next integer. So the product, so we have x times x plus 1 is no less than, so it can't be less than, is no less than 75. So the smallest, so the smallest value it can be, it needs to be more than, it's no less than 75. So it has to be equal to or more than 75. If it's not less than 75, it needs to be more. So the proper notation is greater than there. The sum of two consecutive integers, so now we're just going to solve this. So the sum of two consecutive integers is less than 100. Find the pair of integers with the greatest sum. So two consecutive integers, we have x and the sum. So x equals the first number, x plus 1 equals the second number. So the sum of those is less than, the sum of two is less than 100. So less than 100. That gives me 2x plus 1 is less than 100, minus 1, 2x is less than 99, divide by 2, and we get x equals 49 and 1/2. So find the pair of integers with the greatest sum. So the first integer has to be, well, that's not an integer, so we have to do 49. So x must be 49, and the next consecutive integer would be 50, and the sum of those would be 99, and that would be less than 100. If I chose to go above, if I chose x to be 50, we would have 50 and 51, and the sum of that would be 101, and it wouldn't be less than 100. Oh, so sorry, let's read the question. Find the pair of integers. So we would say 49 and 50 in a solution set. Yes, I put it over here, but solution set's always good. The sum of two consecutive even integers. So x is going to represent the first even, and x plus 2 is going to represent the second even, or the next consecutive even. So the sum of two consecutive integers, so if we add them, is at most 180. So it has to be less than or equal to 180 at most. Can't be more than 180, so it has to be less than. So we're going to simplify 2x plus 2 less than 180 minus 2 minus 2. 2x is less than or equal to 178. Divide by 2. X equals 89. I think that's 89, 16, yep, 89. So the first even would be 89, but 89 isn't even. So we would have to do 88. That would be the first 88, and then the next one would be 88 plus 2, or 90. Does 88 plus 90, is that less than or equal to 180? That's going to be, I put equals, sorry, less than or equal to 89. So the closest one that is less than or equal to 89 would be 88. Next one would be 90. So that gives us 178. If I chose 90, if I went the other way, if I chose 90 and 92, that would give me 182, which is not less than. So my solutions are going to be 88 and 90. Those are two consecutive even integers. That was a little tricky. Be careful. Be careful. It needs to be even. Fun. So notice I'm not just writing down numbers, I'm thinking. I look at my solution, I'm seeing, is it reasonable? Does it fit the parameters? Is it within the constraints that I'm working? And I have to understand the whole picture. We constantly talk about comprehension, fluency, number sense, all these buzzwords, and it's really important for you to be able to conceptualize this. And that comes with practice, that comes with asking questions, that comes with marinating, sitting there, thinking about it, not rushing, not looking to get to the solution. We got to understand the problem. So slow down, figure it out. Once you figure it out, then you can actually do lots of problems really fast. So slowing in the beginning and taking your time helps you be more efficient in the end. After selling 160 copies of the program to a school play, an usher had fewer than 40 copies left. How many copies of the program did the usher have originally? So, after selling 160 copies of the program to a play, an usher had fewer than... So, you have T is going to be the total number of copies, and you sold 160. So, if I sell, or minus 160, that would be how much I'm left with, and I would have fewer than 40 copies left. So that needs to be fewer than 40, not equal to, it has to be fewer. So there is no equal sign here. So this is going to be my equation where T equals the total number of copies we originally had. So I'm going to add 160, add 160, and I get T is less than or equal to 200, not less than or equal, less than 200. So how many copies of the program did the usher have originally? They had less than 200. So 199? I mean, to me, that's that's an interesting one. Let's see what the answer to that is, because we can find that. This is, what is this? 10-3? 10-3 answer, and this is number 10, I think. Let's look at that solution. Mr. Mack is inquisitive. He is wondering, number 10, less than 20 copies. Okay, well, that fits it. Yep, didn't necessarily know exactly. So that is less than 200 copies. Yay. A house and a lot together cost more than $86,000. The house costs $2,000 more than 6 times the cost of the lot. How much does the lot cost by itself? So you have a house and a lot together costs more than, this costs more than 86,000. So the house plus the lot. The house costs 2,000 more than 6 times the cost of the lot. So the house costs 6 times, that's not a 6, Mr. Mack. So the house, let's actually do here. The house is 6 times the lot plus 2,000. The house costs 2,000 more than 6 times the lot. So instead of writing H, we're going to have 6L plus 2,000 plus the lot cost must be greater than $86,000. So you see how I made a nice little general formula, and then I got more specific. I substituted, I can't have 2 variables because then I can't isolate and solve. So I had to substitute a value that had a relationship between each other, and it eliminated one of those. And so I got 7L plus 2,000 is greater than 86,000. Let's minus that 2,000. That is 7L is greater than 84,000. Divide by 7, divide by 7. So that lot must be greater than, how much does a lot cost by itself? That lot must be at least $12,000. So it has to be more than $12,000 for it. Interesting. Okay, good. Doesn't want to know how much the house costs, it just wants the lot by itself. This is L. L represented the cost of the lot by itself. Andrew's salary is $12,000 a month, plus a 4% commission on all his sales. What must the amount of his sales be to earn at least $1,600 each a month? So if his salary is $1,200 a month, so it's your salary plus your commission for the month is going to be, come on in, is going to be at least, so that's going to be at least, no, at least, yeah, so it can be equal to 1,600. So his salary, we know his salary is 1,200, and then a commission on his sales. So the commission is a 4%. We have to change that to a decimal times his sales on all his sales. Okay, so that's going to be S is greater than or equal to 1,600. So his salary, that's his base salary plus his sales. So his sales, the rest of his paycheck consists of his salary plus his commission. And his commission is based on his sales. Different S. S is sales, this is salary, this is salary, different from sales. So we have this formula. So we have 1,200 plus 0.04 S for sales is 1,600. Let's minus the 1,200, minus the 1,200. 0.04 S is greater than or equal to 400. Divide by 0.04. 0.04. Sales must be greater than or equal to. We're going to move it two places. Two places. That's going to be 40,000. No, 10,000. Yeah, 10,000. So his sales must be more than or equal to 10,000. All right, 400, 0.04. We're going to move the decimal 1, 2. We move this decimal 1, 2. That's 2 zeros. And then we get 40,000 over 4. Yeah. Which gives us 10,000. So 10,000. His sales must be greater than or equal to 10,000. That's it. Nice. That's yeah. So that's it's going to represent $400 in commissions, and that would be on 4% on $10,000 would be $400. So that checks out. These are good. Another good section for you to master and to make sure that you understand all the components of it, being proficient at. You got to practice word problems. Comprehension is going to be extremely important in a lot of your assessments in high school. You can't just memorize the process. You got to understand the concepts. Good luck.